Warm greetings to Mrs. Anupama Mehra, Principal, Navy Children's School, Goa, and to all the viewers. On behalf of Vidyadan, I extend a hearty welcome to Mrs. Anupama Mehra to this talk show with the principals. Namaste, ma'am.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share. It is a wonderful platform that we are reaching out to so many people. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. Vidyadan is committed towards empowerment through education. And we have a wide spectrum of activities, and Vidyadan reaches out to multitude of students and teachers through its variety of activities like capacity building program, art integrated and creative activities, teaching learning process, curriculum transaction, so on and forth. And this has been possible with the support extended by our well-wishers and benefactors. So I take this opportunity to extend our gratitude to all our well-wishers and supporters as well. Now, this talk show with the principals have been designed in such a way that in the context of the reforms, the educational reforms that the country is undergoing, it's indeed a great platform for us to share and collaborate our ideas. And in this context, I would say that today we have a unique personality, an administrator who has got distinguished feature within herself to share her ideas and to collaborate with the schools across the country. Why unique? You'll have to wait with me to introduce Madam to the viewers. Let me once more extend a hearty welcome, and we are honored and privileged. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us. Let me now take this opportunity to introduce Madam Anupama Mehra to the audience. Vidyadan presents the talk show with principals, and we here have today Mrs. Anupama Mehra, Principal, Navy Children's School, Goa. Madam is a postgraduate in zoology. She started the career in the advertising industry, worked in corporate sector with various public relation firms and training and mentoring departments. So now, why she is a unique personality and an administrator. Having worked with the corporate, she knows what the market or the job industry demands, and therefore can design the activities in the school based on the requirement and factors of the industry. She also has rich experience in education industry, right from being a teacher of nursery school to the high school. This is something very, very special as an administrator, to know how the children are from their elementary levels to the adolescent levels. And this would definitely help her in her administration and leadership. And now we speak about principals as pedagogical leaders, and this is definitely going to contribute towards a well-defined pedagogical plan for Navy Children's School, Goa. She's been the administrator of various international schools like Amity, Greenfield, and Manav Rajna. And we are talking about global standards. And therefore, this experience is definitely worth when ma'am is trying to design her activities. Also, now CBSE has been asking the schools to go in for the accreditation. Madam is already experienced in accreditation and administration. In the present online platform that we are all dealing with, as individuals, we need to know about what is cybersecurity. And she is already a trained cybersecurity expert who would be able to help her teachers, staff, and students, especially in this scenario. Yes, internationally certified counselor. We are talking about the mental well-being along with the physical health of the students. And this counseling capability is an essential requirement for any administrator these days, or for that matter, any teacher these days. To add on to it, she's also a neuro-linguistic practitioner. Yes, she loves voiceover artist. Also, she loves reading as well as music. So this is enough for an administrator to have enough knowledge for governing or to lead a school like Navy Children's School Goa ahead. We are indeed honored, ma'am, and we're just eagerly waiting to hear from you the rich experience that you are sharing with us today, this evening. We welcome you once again to this talk show with principals. With this note, let me now introduce the school that she is governing. To begin with, let me start with the quote that she has already presented to us. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not good enough. If someone does that, go right out to prove them wrong. And as an administrator, as an individual, as a student, this is what anybody need to have. The self-confidence, the self-esteem in oneself to go ahead and to go traverse in the right direction. Navy Children's School Goa is one of the schools governed by Navy Education Society. It's indeed amazing to know the vision and the mission statements of Navy Education Society, which has been formulated years back. The vision of the Navy Education Society is to transform all the Navy Children's School to international standards. And NEP 2020 speaks about that. Yes, the most striking feature, the mission statement, which is just aligned with NEP 2020, is to nurture the students to be lifelong learners, metacognitive skills, who are respectful and responsible, and who would rise to the challenges of life. We are training our children to face the real life situations, to be problem solvers, to think critically and creatively. So it's just amazing that the vision and the mission statements is aligned with NEP 2020. Navy Children's School Goa is affiliated to the CBSE, New Delhi, and it has got classes from 1 to 12. It is located in a sprawling area of 12 acres. The members of the teaching staff, highly qualified, dedicated, with a strong sense of belonging and service to the school. And yes, the teaching staff is the greatest asset of any educational organizations. And teachers are encouraged to update themselves with seminars and workshops. Special emphasis is given to the sporting activities. Yes, we are talking about Khelo India and Fit India movement. The practices at NCS Goa, we would hear it directly from ma'am, but just to the viewers, a hint about what the school does. It has got digital library membership and ISO certified. Career awareness programs are taken by the school. Yes, Atal Tinkering Lab for innovation and creativity. Collaboration with Indo-German Educational and Cultural Society. Also collaborating with SPIC-MACE for promotion of visual and performing arts. So there is a correct blend for the holistic development of the students. It's a Freedom app, which has got 493 students who have registered for it. And reading fluency and vocabulary enhancement is the focus. We are talking about foundational literacy and numeracy. And have registered students appearing for the Carnegie Mellon assessment, and NCS Goa scores above the national average for the academic year 21-22. Teaching learning process in the pandemic time has been adapted to the online mode, adhering to the guidelines. Yes, this seems to be interesting that they have an e-newsletter which is circulated to the parents. So the parent community is kept aware about the happenings of the school and kept updated about what's going to happen and what has been happening. And experiential learning that is the core word of the time. And that has been the way of life of Navy Children's School, Goa, under the leadership of Madam Anupama Mehra. The students partake in a lot of activities, decision making, and they are given a platform for attaining leadership skills. Online orientation activities, parent-teacher meeting, physical and mental health, webinar, so on and forth, keep them updated for the holistic development of their students. So with this note, I once again welcome Mrs. Anupama Mehra on behalf of Vidyadan to the talk show with principals. I would be sharing a video of the school just to keep us updated about what the school does. So right now we have seen what the school actually does. And so I don't think there is anything that is left out in the implementation of NEP 2020 in the school as such. So based on that, Madam, can we go on with your views regarding competency-based education and how it is going to transform the Indian education system? What would be your views that the other schools can take up from you?
Thank you so much, Gina, for showcasing the school so beautifully on the platform. It makes me very, very proud as a school leader to be representing the school on behalf of our entire management and the staff, which is the true strength of the school. As you would have seen in the video, uh, it captures the last 2 years of the pandemic. Whatever we could share, if you see, there are more children and more people, which is actually the true strength of the school. On that note, let me now go into the question that you asked me, which is about competency-based education. Like you rightly said, it is in light of the new education policy 2020. It is the key word and the core on which the entire policy is based. So if we go out to implement NEP, which is going to happen in a very phased manner, competency and measuring a competency of a child, whatever it may be, whether it is linguistic, whether it is interpersonal, whether it is musical, whether it is art, whether it is visual or performing, any of the competencies that we are looking at or the skills that we are looking at, there is a heavy need across the schools to be able to first measure those competencies. It is the first step in implementation of competency-based education. So what I feel is a standard measure of measuring and adopting or discovering the competencies is the key. If schools are unable to do that, our first step will falter. So a standard measurement of the competencies and understandings of the children have to be measured first. And then based on that would be the way forward. If you look at the past board exams and the manner in which 10th and 12th were assessed and are going to be assessed, that is also talking about competency-based teaching learning process in the classroom and the manner in which questioning and answering is done in the classroom. So this whole process now from class 1, as a 6-year-old enters a school, has to be completely realigned to be able to identify competencies. Once we are able to do that, I think then only will a school be able to implement competency-based education in the right way. Right? So I feel that way. Assessment of various competencies is the first step and the most important. Then only we'll be able to develop them.
Yes, ma'am. You are absolutely right. Because when we speak about competency-based education, we have the content and the curriculum with us. On one dimension, we have the curriculum. So how effectively we can implement it in the competency-based education model within the stipulated time. Another dimension, as you rightly said, is the assessment pattern. So I think we need to wait more of training programs related to it and clear ideas about how this feedback mechanism has to work out. If we speak about the competency-based education, the correct assessment pattern, what has been spoken about is a criteria on reference assessment. And to go into that rubric model, whether our schools are equipped, whether our faculty is equipped, all these are the challenges definitely in front of us. But then, yes, with the
right, sorry, please go ahead.
With the guidance from the CBSE and the training programs, I think we should be able to go ahead with it, because which is the need of the as well. And the question paper pattern, as ma'am rightly said, is incorporating this area. So maybe like what could be our pedagogical practices and strategies in this context, ma'am?
When we talk about implementation, like you rightly mentioned, taking it forward, after assessment of pedagogies, once we have done that, the teachers, we have to instill in the teachers and allow them the freedom and the creativity to go beyond the syllabus also. A teacher cannot be confined to just the syllabus, and we need to allow flexibility within our systems and allow the teacher to progress. We need to give the teacher maybe a broad outline that this is what is expected and these are the learning outcomes that are expected. How you're going to take your children forward is your own creativity. So once we outline that, and then we can move forward. Now, whereas pedagogies are concerned to take competency-based education forward, what is beautifully worked for us in spite of the online teaching and the pandemic has been peer training and peer learning, constantly re-evaluating your own work, redrafting, going through your own work, critiquing your own work. And secondly, we have what has worked is flipped classroom and collaborative learning, in spite of being in an online classroom. In spite of being in an online classroom, this seemed to have worked. Teachers have used that. Also, what has worked is, I firmly believe in start from wherever you are, use whatever you have. You do not need to, you do not need to have fancy surroundings. You do not need to have fancy aids to be able to make a child learn. It was very interesting to see when our teachers were teaching, whatever children had around them in their homes, in the farms, in the fields, in their grandmother's homes, they put it all out there and discussed it with the teachers. They were sitting at home, the teachers were in their homes. In fact, during a very interesting session with our primary teachers team, even the pets joined the lessons. So that is experiential learning with a twist, across the screen, but very much a part of the surroundings. So even that will definitely help, because from such experiences, curated experiences, that's where true learning will also come out. So competency can be judged and assessed even through such measures. So that is for us, it has worked very beautifully. Sitting at home in the pandemic, flipped classrooms, peer learning, experiential learning, in spite of being in an online mode, and absorbing what is around you, awareness of your immediate surroundings. That is the way forward. Just imagine, children are attending school from all over the country. They've been traveling widely. They've been spending time with their families, right? So it is a learning in its own way. They've probably learned how to be self-sufficient. Mothers have been working, children have been attending online, and they've learned to manage on their own. So I look at the positives always. So I feel the children have grown in a very different manner. They've probably come closer to their families. So awareness itself of such factors is discovering yourself. And that itself is a very big competency, I would feel, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
that's my take on it.
That's great, ma'am. I think I can take up that word that you said, that you don't need fancy environment and a great teaching aids to implement competency-based education. Because when you speak about big schools, they have big money and there is a lot of things that they can do. But there may be schools where their infrastructure may not support them. So definitely when the teachers can be creative with whatever they have around, we are again linking it to the real life situation. Yes, that is definitely a good method, pedagogical practice that you were suggesting. Another point that Madam said about the peer teaching and the peer learning that is happening. Yes, that would be more effective than a teacher just going in and taking the class. So here we can have 100% of a student engagement, rather than, or that becomes a learner-centric environment than a teacher centric environment. Yes, ma'am, that's great tip that you have shared with us. Yes, flipped classrooms, I think in the present context, that too is not an expensive affair. We can
Very
definitely work on the flipped classrooms method as well. So
Very
thank
right.
you for that, ma'am. And how do you think the leadership is going to play a role in competency-based education in our schools?
I always feel the leadership sets the tone, mood, and the entire school experience, how the atmosphere is going to be in the school. The leadership and the management sets tone for that. If there is flexibility, acceptance of ideas, and accessibility to the school leadership, the whole environment is very positive. If the leadership is very open to new ideas and implementation, I think half the battle is won. You need to have a teacher be comfortable and happy coming to school, right? And unless that is there, you will not have a very participative staff. So I feel the leadership itself sets the pace and the tone of things to come. That's one. Number two, like I spoke earlier, we need to give teachers the freedom to implement and experiment. Imagine the school becoming an incubation center or a research center for various practices. I'll share something very interesting with you, what we've done recently, and we've seen lots of applications coming in. We give a lot of opportunity for our alumni. A lot of opportunities for our alumni to come back and connect with us. This also includes college students from the neighboring colleges to come and talk to our children. What this has resulted in is their ideas also mingling with our children, and they holding talks with the children, and they're from all kinds of colleges. So from bullying to careers to presentation skills to 21st century skills, children are learning from a far younger community. That's when a very solid connect happens. And that brings out certain talents in children when they also come around and tell us, even we want to organize something like this. A very interesting, very recent, by the Bright Side Foundation, we did an anti-bullying workshop for a couple of our children. It was taken by young adults, young college-going children. The number of activities that they did with the children was amazing. And so much participation by the 6th, 7th, 8-year-old students, 8th standard students. So what I feel is, the more we allow such experimentation, let's go beyond the curriculum, let's go beyond the syllabus. It is there grounded, but let's do a little lateral thinking and somehow tell the children that, look, you're not learning something 100%, somewhere laterally connected, but the concept will come in. The concept will eventually come in, but the real thing has to be also managed. That's important. So, like I said, allowing the freedom to the teachers, allowing children to be flexible, move away from the classroom, while rooted in syllabus, yes, because there is a curriculum that we must follow, but the means to approach that syllabus, that flexibility, the leadership should also have. The management should be ready to give the school the flexibility, and the leadership should be able to give that flexibility to the teachers to adopt methods according to how the children are. Who is the best judge in a classroom? The teacher. Empower the teacher and let the teacher be. I'm sure she has fantastic ideas, and and the leadership continuously breathing down them and saying, no, it has to be done in this way will not work. So I have seen that the more you give the teachers the freedom, they'll work better. Because then they'll feel that, that sense of belongingness, that they're my children and I can groom them in a particular way. So ideas will automatically pour in. That's when they love to share that, I read this, let me implement it. I attended this workshop, let me implement it. So that makes a lot of difference. That freedom must come from the leadership. And competency will happen. It will happen eventually.
Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely right, because it is just not one brain which is working. When there is a flexibility for the teachers to pour in out their ideas, and then when they are accepted, and yes, it is just a brainstorming that is happening. We are sharing your ideas. And when the teachers are given their significant important places and their significant contributions, definitely that positivity will be there in the environment. And that is reaching out to our children in another way. So that's and a happy environment, as you said, because the teaching is not just a job where you can work with just hours of work. It has to be a work that comes from within, so it doesn't count the hours as such. So yes, a happy environment is also a very essential idea when we speak about big things that we need. But then this is also one little idea which we all schools have to take in. Yes. Another interesting part that ma'am shared with us, that is linking with the college community. It's fantastic. Because these kids anyway have to go to the college, and when they are having first-hand experiences being shared related to diverse fields, that it could be better than any other workshop that we would be managing with the best of the resource persons. Yes, this is indeed a great idea, ma'am, and I think any school can take up this. And yes, competency would definitely happen there because you are talking from your experience. And yes, there isn't any gen gap that is also there. So it's very interesting. Congratulations for that great idea that you suggested. Ma'am, again, we need to update ourselves. That is an essential part in this. And CBSE also is telling about 50 hours of CPD, the continuous professional development. How important do you feel is in the present context, and how do you think we can find time for that in our schedule of curriculum transaction?
We are all lifelong learners, as we always say, right? So in that light, and the paradigm shift of the education industry in the last 2 years from offline to online, and the introduction of the NEP 2020, yes, we need to ourselves completely realign and to be updated with the latest trends. So, the entire country in March 2020 shifted from offline to online overnight. And our teachers became masters of the computer game literally within a fortnight. And they faced the new session in April, I remember, very beautifully in online mode. And a teacher who probably had never done a Google Meet or a Zoom call was aces at it by June, right? They were planning lessons, they were using the tablet, they were using graphic organizers, they were using the the graphic tablets, they were teaching maths, they were doing O labs. So just imagine, and all that through teaching, learning, training. That is what made it happen. And today, after 2 years of looking back, I think the teacher teams across the country have done so well for themselves by continuously training. Yes, I do agree. Given your teaching schedule, it becomes very overwhelming at times, and one feels that the job never ends. It is a never-ending treadmill. But at the end of the day, when you see your 30 children online, and you introduce something new, or a new tool, or a new game, maybe. I remember the first time teachers told me about how children reacted to Kahoot was amazing. Gamifying the entire questioning process. So, or using a Padlet in the classroom, or using Mentimeter, or say using live worksheets. All that was just to enhance the online experience. And that has been possible only through proper training methodology. That works definitely. Also amongst the teachers, peer learning and teaching each other works very beautifully. So it is extremely important that 50 hours has been said mandatory. It is a little difficult. I wouldn't disagree on that, given the curriculum coverage and the timelines. But I think Saturdays and Sundays, maybe Saturdays in schools can be accommodated. We can accommodate training for the teachers, but very, very relevant. Today, we are dealing with a generation which is, I would not say Gen X, they are Gen Z, and they are ready to teach us a lot more about, the world and the computer scenario completely. So I'm not saying that we need to be one up. No, that's not the idea, but we need to be together. So we need to be updated continuously. We need to be training continuously. We need to update our skills continuously, especially like we are all talking about NEP. There is so much to learn about such a comprehensive document and the stage-wise implementation. So training is a must, and regular training and faculty development is extremely important. We cannot have an uninformed or an ill-informed or an uninformed teacher in the classroom facing her students. I feel very, very strongly about this. And it's very, very important for our faculty to be completely trained. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. That is true also because we have to unlearn and relearn certain things that is being in the concept of NEP 2020, which is again new to us. Yes, CBSE's courses, NCRT programs, the Nishta courses, all that is helping us. Yes, for the teachers, it is a very challenging environment. After the curriculum transaction, we need to find time for all this. But then, yes, but they have to keep abreast with these ideas if they have to be really effective in the classrooms. Yes, so that is a relevant point. And as ma'am said, we don't have to really be dependent on well-structured faculty development programs. It could be just sharing ideas among the teachers and how to go about it. Even that can help, because now we are speaking about hybrid learning environment and how to provide a conducive environment in our classrooms. Yes, sharing also can be a kind of a CPD that is happening. Yes, ma'am. In this context, as you rightly said, this Kahoot and things have fascinated the children a lot. How will the digital tools and technology go a long way in CBE building up?
It is, first of all, what I feel, a couple of, like I said, identification of a child's competency is very important. So when we talk about individual children's competencies, child competencies, a personalized e-portfolio for a child, for example, in present times, where documenting everything about a child, from anecdotes to academic performances to co-scholastic performances, it has to begin with portfolio making, say a complete portfolio of a child, right, which can be passed on to the next teacher and the next class, so that a teacher knows that, okay, these are the areas which are the strengths of a child, right, and they can be built upon. Let's see where it takes the child, right? So here is something where ICT can help us. Very important to have analytics. We have at school vast amount of data about grades, about systems, about information, about feedback from stakeholders. We don't know what to do with that data sometimes. Files and files of data. Until unless that data is converted into numbers, graphs, we will not know where we stand. Similarly, for children, ICT is a fantastic tool to be able to comprehensively compile every achievement of a child so that it can be interpreted in the right way. We're also looking at the kind of training or an extra mapping that can be done for a child at an individual level. Though we do struggle with the class strengths, we do struggle with large class strengths, but I think for a child to be, for us to be able to build a complete pen picture of a child, ICT can help. Data analytics, definitely, the child's performances over the years, what works for the child, what doesn't work for the child, what is he or she excelling at. All this can be maintained through ICT tools in building the competence of a child. I feel here we can use ICT.
Yes, ma'am. I think portfolio, anyway, it has been coming within the curriculum of the CBSE mandate. Also, holistic progress card also would help us. Yes, I think we have to build up a digital infrastructure now. So that would be the need of the hour. Do you think, ma'am, implementation plan as such for an individual school would be essential for the implementation of CBE? Or could you give us some tips on this implementation plan as an individual organization can
have? I feel when we speak about CBE, there are, post-pandemic, there are a plethora of tech platforms that have come up. If you see, there is a lot of collaboration. We've done that also. We've collaborated with the Freedom app, which belongs to the company Stones to Milestones. This particular app has enabled us to build, for example, reading competence in children, right? We encourage this curated learning pieces, reading pieces, getting together. You base vocabulary enhancement for the children based on their reading, reading abilities, mapping those reading abilities. For example, where does a child stand? And for that, how do you map it? How do you get data on how the child is going to fare? So you have a reading test, you have a fluency test, and where the child was to where the child will be. That will help you cover reading gaps. That in future will eventually help in comprehension abilities. So it's a process which you start building from class 1, right? So this is where, say, reading ability can come in. Similarly, for numeracy, you can have activities which are again like that. We are again tying up with another edtech platform to introduce something like asset, if you've heard of educational initiatives. So what I'm trying to say here is that though our teachers are teaching, training and learning themselves at the same time, it is going to be a continuous process to be able to get a paradigm shift in the questioning methodology in schools. How we set papers, how are we assessing our children? This is where specialists who are already in the field, cues can be taken from them. Also, the third thing, like I always say, there are certain concepts which are good to teach and must to teach, I feel. So there has to be a connection between the essentially taught concepts, which will string the entire learning process from class 1 to 10, till the time the child does not choose their streams. So here, it is very important for teachers, parents, and students to understand that these concepts will stand me in good stead till the time I reach my 10th standard. They are essential concepts. They are core concepts. So having your curriculum also mapped in such a manner that we are teaching our children the core concepts, so that there is a connectivity, there is a connection. There should not be a disconnect anywhere whereas concepts are concerned. So I think there also ICT tools can help us in building the core competencies of children. And there is actually a document by CBSE. I recollect it was released, a circular which was released in October last year, where it has released a proper document where it says essential concepts to be taught in the classroom. I think we can take a cue from that and be actually confined to the fact that this is must to teach. Over and above that, definitely it can be we can go ahead and the sky is the limit.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Of course, we would require an implementation plan, as ma'am rightly said, customized for our own institutions, so that there is a interlink and connect between class 1 to the class 12. And yes, based on the outcome-based education, learning outcomes that NCRT has brought out, I think we can also plan our own way of structuring the competency-based education within the limited resources and also time and also the student-teacher ratio. These are
That's
definitely
right.
the
That's
challenges.
right.
We can make our own customized plan. Of course, I think
Right.
infrastructure resources also becomes a factor. But as ma'am rightly said, brought in, that we can have anything around us in order to build up competency-based education. So I
Also,
think,
I'll adding to that, I'd like to say that a very stringent feedback mechanism has to be built in the school system. Whether it is feedback from stakeholders, whether it is feedback for the teachers, whether it is feedback for the leadership, we equally need feedback as to how to progress better. More often than not, children, when we into the school systems, we fail to give right feedback. For example, a child comes to me and says, I lost marks in this answer. Where did I go wrong? So the child and the teacher conversation that happens should be able to clearly point out, this was what was expected, this was what was asked, this is what you had written, and this is how we are going to correct it. So imagine the factors that are coming into play. So how well did the child comprehend something? How well were instructions given? Was the expected answer ever discussed? Right? So, or when we teach a chapter, what is the expected outcome from this chapter? What is going to be my takeaway? Or for that matter, when I, as the head of the institution, expect a certain task to be done in a certain manner, or a program to be organized in a certain manner, I, as a leader, should very clearly be able to outline, this is what is my expectancy, or this is what is expected as an outcome. So here also, if that is not done, if that is sketchy, then obviously it will be like, just it will be so how do I say, not clear to the teachers what to expect. So similarly for teachers and all stakeholders, feedback, a very clear feedback mechanism is of utmost important. And here for the children also, for continuously improvising and continuously improving on your competencies. There, if continuous feedback is given, that also goes in a long way. And for everybody, like I said, for stakeholders, for teachers, for parents, for the office staff, only then will be able the school to be able to grow.
Yes,
Yes.
that is right. The feedback mechanism is essential. Also, what is expected? I think that is why the CBSE is asking us to say what is the outcome which is expected. That should be clearly defined in the classrooms. And as you rightly said, the feedback mechanism helps for improvement as well as taking cues from the environment to improve our own ecosystem. Thank you so much, ma'am. You have shared with us great ideas. And I'm very sure that the other schools also would be able to take up the ideas that and the views that you have shared with us. We look forward to take up this program ahead across to more and more principals across the nation. And yes, at this point of time, as I thank you with a heartfelt gratitude, could you please give us a message to Vidyadan as well at this point of time?
Thank you so much for a wonderful opportunity that I got to share my views for all the other schools, so many schools who might watch this talk show. My message to you is keep growing and keep doing the noble work that you are doing. It is very easy to somehow get lost and caught up in our daily lives, professional as well as personal. But to step out of this comfort zone and do something for the community at large, for the teacher community, for the student community to take away and to learn from, I think that is an incredible responsibility that you have taken up. Right? To the entire team, and heartfelt best wishes to all of you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us and for sharing your views. Definitely, we will keep in touch with you to get more support for the Vidyadan activities. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. The pleasure was entirely mine.